What's going on, everybody? We're here once again for another episode of Friendly Fire, where we discuss nothing but video games or video game related conversations here. And it's an all domain episode. This is only the people that are part of the domain
The
on
home
this
team.
episode today. We got my man all the way in the UK, Andrew, over here. And I don't know how it looks on YouTube, but he's on the other side of me. Below me on my screen, I've got Mr. Victor Salazar, who's all the way over on the West Coast. And somewhere in the middle, we got myself and Josh Thunder Shaver.
I keep trying to point at you, and it's the wrong way. Yeah.
He's down here for me, but like
My screen's flipped. Yeah, it's like
yeah, it's like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, that's exactly what was going through my head just now. Yeah.
It's like the Brady Bunch. Anyway, we're going to be talking about. So what we usually do on the show is we kind of prepare a topic for us to all talk about, and we're going to go into it. And since we are in already the middle of October, I felt it would be suiting to talk about horror video games. And it's a genre that I'm a big fan of. I love horror video games. There's some really, really great horror games out there. There's also some pretty bad horror games out there. We can talk about the best of both of those here. When you guys, I'm going to go around. We're going to go around here, and I'll end with myself. But when you think of a horror video game, what's the very first game that comes to mind? Let's start with the man who doesn't play a lot of horror video games, Andrew over here. What you might not have played the game, but when you think of horror video games, what's the very first game that comes into your head?
So first game that would come into my head, one I haven't played yet, so one I couldn't necessarily judge, be Resident Evil series, but probably most specifically Resi 4.
Specifically Resident Evil 4. Okay.
That's the one that's kind of the one that was sort of at the height of popularity when I became familiar with the series.
Yes.
So I know that a lot of people hold Resi 2 in high regard. I think, Josh, you're probably one of them.
Me.
But Resi 4, I just remember, was kind of all over the place, kind of in the mid 2000s. So that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind for me when I
just to touch base real quick, Drew. That's because it's your entry into the series, the part 4.
I haven't actually played it. That's the thing. I know it's ported on.
Oh yeah, that's right. You just said that.
It's sort of the Skyrim of Resi games in the sense that it's just you think of a platform.
You know about it, right?
That's come out.
Okay.
There's a version for it, but it's just because I don't know why it just. The first one I actually played was Resi 5. But
Okay.
in terms of so I wouldn't actually be the best person because I also enjoyed some of Resi 6. But yeah, Resi 4 I'd say is specifically the entry that for me when I hear that genre is what springs to mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people. It's kind of crazy with Resident Evil because it's either going to be between 2 and 4. Is what it can kind of tell you the generation gap between people who like the series, because I feel like a lot of older people like myself, our favorite Resident Evil is going to be 2. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite Resident Evil 2. I think for a lot of the younger people, not that like Andrew's super young, but he's younger than us, is going to be 4 because that was the more popular one at the time. It came out on the GameCube. It also came out later on the PlayStation 2. Came out on the PC. It's on VR. If you haven't played the VR version, it's pretty fucking cool too. The VR Resident Evil 4 is amazing. I haven't played that much of it, but what I played of it's really good. So I mean, it's always and not that 4 is a bad game. I think 4 is a really great game too in its own right. It's definitely a different type of game from 2.
Isn't that kind of when it's more kind of straddled the kind of the action?
Yeah, it was kind of like when the controls started changing a lot. Is 4, because in like 2 you had the tank controls.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of us who who grew up playing Resident Evil and played the first game on PlayStation and kind of went from there. It was all tank controls, so it's kind of hard sometimes, especially if you've played the remake of 2, which is fantastic. It's an excellent game. It's definitely my favorite. One of my favorite modern Resident Evil games. Which isn't really modern, but it kind of is because it's different from the original game.
Mm-hmm.
I played
in a wonderful way.
It is. It's actually kind of, in my opinion, I have a love-hate relationship with remakes anyway. Like, I don't like a lot of remakes. I don't like it when they take remakes of games that came out 5 years ago, like The Last of Us Part 1 or fuck that, The Last of Us. That's not even called Part 1. It's just The Last of Us. I hate that. They added that. But when Sony did we're gonna remake or remaster or whatever the hell you want to call it, the first game, to me it was like, that's just way too soon. Now when you take a game like a really treasured horror game, more so survival horror game like Resident Evil 2, and you decide almost 20 years later to do a remake of the game, that is like a chef's kiss, if you will, of a remake. And that, to me, is how you properly take care of a game and remake a game. And I think Resident Evil 2 is the absolute best representation of what a remake should be. And it is absolutely by far my number one favorite remake of anything that they've done. Now, whenever they decide to remake Metal Gear Solid, which I doubt is going to happen,
Metal Gear,
that would be really awesome too if it's done well. But Resident Evil 2 is great. I remember playing the Nintendo 64 version too, which was even more difficult because you had that stupid controller you had to use.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. The stupid Nintendo 64 controller gave you a little bit more maneuverability. You're talking about playing 2 on the 64. 3 on the 64 was like the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Because that way you could just be like, hey, Nemesis, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. But 2 and 4, I think, are like the most definitive games in the entire series of Resident Evil. Some people like 1. 1's pretty good. So it's okay. I like the pacing and the story better in 2. I like the characters better in 2. Claire and Leon are they're just amazing characters. The franchise as a whole is still great nonetheless. I mean, you still have some pretty good games in there. We don't talk about 5. 5 is, or no, wait. Yeah, no, 6. 6 is like the worst.
I'll talk about 5. 6
is, I like to call it Resident Evil giraffe getting sucked off by a person because that's what the cover looks like.
That's what it looks like, but I'm not gonna lie, man.
We'll get into that.
I liked a lot of things about 6.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. I liked a lot of things about 6. I'll even put my reputation on the line by saying it. I
thought it was interesting. I thought it was. I enjoyed the mechanics, but I can understand why people kind of shun it as a Resident Evil entry specifically.
Yeah, I also agree with that.
Real quick, Different Styles says, "What's up, everyone?" Saying hello. What's going on, Different Styles? How you doing? It's good to see you, man. Go check out his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of good stuff on his YouTube channel over there. What's up, Different Styles? Good to see you. Yeah, for me, I mean, Resident Evil 4 is, or sorry, 6. I didn't like it because of the way they did the story. The pacing was bad. I didn't like the gameplay so much. It felt like a very watered down, diluted version of a Resident Evil game.
I'll give
trying to make it feel like you were playing missions instead of like just like in traditional Resident Evil fashion, you're either in like a mansion or you're in a police station or you're in a hospital, and things like that, where there's other games that do the same thing. But 6 was just like they were like Capcom was in their board meeting and they just threw a bunch of shit up against the wall and said, okay, we'll have Leon in it, Chris in it, we'll have this new guy in it. I forget that dude's name. You know his name.
Are you talking about Jake or Pierce?
Jake. Yeah, Jake. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like such a wrong game, and I didn't care for it one bit.
I don't know.
I think watered down is the best way to put it. I think you put it right. It was watered down. It was very watered down. The ideas were there. It could have been good if you actually put thought into it. And I shouldn't say good. It could have been better. if you put thoughts into it and really fleshed it out. But because it was kind of, it felt a little, it felt iffy, it felt rushed, it felt like just like you said, man, throw stuff up against the wall.
If I remember correctly, too, the lore in the game was super bad. Wasn't it? Dude, like
everything was rushed? The story was rushed. Terrible. Didn't make much sense.
We got this guy, this troll in here, DJ Eric.
Oh yeah.
What's the Fantastic Four? What's going on there? It's good to see you, man. We're talking about Resident Evil. We're talking about horror games now for those joining us.
Resident Evil.
And Resident Evil is definitely one of, if not the most iconic horror video game franchises of all time. It spawned a series of movies that are some of Josh's favorite movies of all time.
I fucking hate those films.
And then the Netflix live action show.
I didn't even watch it.
I never watched it.
Yeah, the Resident Evil like fan group that I'm in on Facebook, they were like, yo, I'm gonna do everyone in here a favor on like day one. They're like, anyone who hasn't wasted their time watching this show, don't even start episode 1. And it wasn't like one or two people posting. It was like spammed.
You're fired.
Eric, what the fuck?
You've never played a He's fired. So
Eric,
we have breaking news. DJ Eric is now fired from the domain.
So Saturday, and I was going to talk to you about the time, after we're done doing this, Brian, because I was thinking more in the day, and then Rachel gave me the idea to do it at nighttime. But I'm going to do another quick run of Resident Evil 8.
Okay. Village, right? Yeah.
Village, yeah. So the last time I did this, it was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Damn, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, boy. But it was like right when the game came out, and it was my 6th run through, and I had it like Steel Trap memorized. So I haven't done a playthrough since then.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question,
Are you talking about playthrough, or are you talking about speed run? Because 2 hours plus is pretty quick, man.
That's a speed run.
I'm really good at these games. I'm really good at these games.
So let me ask you a question, Josh. Since Josh is our resident expert, so Eric said he's never played a Resident Evil game before. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
For someone like Eric, and maybe someone who's watching our show right now, whether it's live or later, who may have never, I don't know why they wouldn't have, but who knows, who's never played a Resident Evil game before, what one would you recommend they start with first?
Man. Okay, so they did do a remake of 1.
Okay.
It's a little older, but because of the controls,
that remake.
Yeah, like
you don't have to play the tank controls though. I think there's a swap.
No, because like what I'm saying is because of the controls, I wouldn't recommend the original games to anyone who haven't ever played them before. It's definitely one of those things that like we've gotten past that generation gaming wise, and it didn't age well. So unless you're doing it on purpose like me, I wouldn't recommend doing it to check it out.
Right.
Now, definitely the remakes are the way to go because they realized that once they got to 4, that was the way to be. So that's why you've got the 1, 2, and 3 remakes. And I guess they kind of forgot their mission because they skipped Code Veronica and announced another remake of 4. So I don't know how they're remaking 4 in the 4 engine remake. But I would definitely, because you have to start at the beginning of the story. That's not the beginning of the story. But Resident Evil 0 really is an essential. But no, I definitely recommend playing them in order because that's the way that it flows the best. You don't just walk into a middle of the movie and be like, "Oh, hey, cool."
That's very true.
You got to know.
Dude, I agree with that wholeheartedly too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the remake though, start with the remake though, because just like you said, the controls can turn people off to this genre of games. Especially those of us that started with, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and you had those tank controls that were frustrating at times to work with, So once that remake came around and took care of those control issues, it's a way more enjoyable game. So you definitely want to start off with the remake.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
So Eric says Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a badass game.
You're
absolutely right. That is a badass game. You can actually go and get that right now on your Xbox, PlayStation, PC. They did a little like a combo pack with that and the sequel.
I
can't think off the top of my head what that's called. It was a fun game. That's a 2-player game too. Tons of
That bad boy was on the SNES, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was on SNES and Sega Genesis. Yeah.
Well, that bundle that you talk about,
yes,
is exactly how I found out about the sequel. I didn't know there was a sequel. I lived my whole life without knowing until like a couple years ago.
Man. Yeah. You lived your whole life and didn't know there was a sequel to that game.
Yeah, I've wasted it all, man.
Sequel's pretty good too.
Yeah. I love Zombies Ate My
pretty good too.
That's a good one. I mean, I play horror games all the time though. I know we were kind of going around, but like there's so many, you know. But you know, I'm not gonna kind of like circumvent this or whatever, but yeah, you know, talking about Resident Evil, I definitely feel like that is the main staple.
Yeah, so that's what you would say if you would say what. So if you were to say, Josh, what game do you think of when it comes to horror games? You gotta say Resident Evil.
No.
What's your game?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was my turn yet or not. I guess I could
go for it.
That from you. But, you know, when I'm thinking of like horror games, like there's Resident Evil, but man, have you ever played motherfucking Dead Space? And I say that
there we go. That's what I was gonna say. That's the one I was gonna say. Dead Space.
Man,
and I'm sorry, just quickly off topic. Have you guys seen the trailer for the remake?
Oh man, I can't wait for the remake. It looks good.
Oh my god, that thing looks so amazing. But man. I'm sorry, Josh, man. It's
super stoked for it. Yeah.
No, if I took yours, I'll throw something else out. But Dead Space, really, like that's a game that scares you. I'm not a scaredy cat person at all, and that game hurt my feelings. You know, like, but then you've got games like Doom. You know, the fonder earlier days of the domain. I say that like we've been here forever, but like I used to play Dead by Daylight on the Twitch stream all the time because that was my jam. In fact, it's about to be my jam because today or tomorrow the new season starts, and the premium track is to get the "Was Up" face from Scary Movie for Ghostface.
Really?
Oh yeah,
nice. I'm gonna say for me, when I think of horror video games, I think of Silent Hill right away. That's kind of where I go to. Not that I don't like Resident Evil, but there was a time when we were growing up around the PS2 era. Man, oh man, those were some good times when we had the PS2 and the Xbox and the GameCube. I think was out around then too.
Yeah.
But man, we had some really good horror games, but Silent Hill was right there. And of course, Silent Hill came out on the PlayStation 1, the OG. And I'm never gonna forget as a kid hearing that air horn, air siren.
Yeah.
When you first get to town, and that's just such an iconic moment. And then you have later you had the Pyramid Heads and all of that stuff happening. The hospital was freaky as hell.
Everything.
Those games were like you had Resident Evil. Resident Evil was, in my opinion, a little bit more of a lighter tone of a horror game. But man, Silent Hill went for that dark, demon, creepy fucking.
Silent Hill was an analogy for depression, and that's why it's darker. Like that hits you in the nuts,
dude.
Until you get to that second one, and you find out that the whole thing was the machinations of a Shiba Inu with the control console.
It was difficult to control those games, man. But you know what? Let's touch on those controls, the control issues real quickly. I think that the controller, the tank, method, as you want to call it, I should say the tanky controls, I think it added to the game. It added to the atmosphere. It added to how difficult these games were to navigate because, whether you're playing Silent Hill 1 or 2 or Resident Evil 1 or 2 and you're like walking into a wall when you got someone creeping up behind you, you're trying to turn around. It induces that anxiety. It induced that. It heightened the fear of these games. And, I'm with Brian. Silent Hill was the first horror game that I really played as a kid. And I had the lights dimmed and PlayStation 1 was on, it was dark and you're hearing sounds. You're like, what the hell was that? And then you got the dog jumping through the window down the hallway. It's like, jump scare here and there. I mean, it's nostalgic, man. It's great. And it's an awesome thing. But not to jump in on your time, Brian, dude. But I think Dead Space is the one that put it all together perfectly. It had the atmosphere, had the sounds,
Yeah.
it had the creepy monsters, it had the anxiety-inducing moments. And it was very similar to how BioShock took care of that dark, danky area, but in space, with Dead Space, obviously. But I think Dead Space really nailed it, man. It hit that atmosphere, it hit the fear, it hit the anxiety, it hit all those notes. When I hear fear horror games, Dead Space is the one, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing is that with a lot of these entries, so Silent Hill, the early Resi games, Dead Space, they've all got that sense of kind of claustrophobia. You know, they're all in enclosed spaces for the most part. You know, there might be exceptions here and there, but you know, Dead Space is Dead Space is, you know, on that space station. Silent Hill, yes, there's probably
you can't go anywhere. You can't run away. Yeah.
I think the same
Silent Hill gives you it gives you the sense of freedom, but you're in a cage, dude. You're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, you're stuck in this area.
What's so revolutionary about Dead Space as well is that the gun that you had to use, the laser gun, where you had to like dismember them and stuff. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah,
you had to like cut their legs off and shit, and their arms, and even if you would cut their legs off, they would still try to come get you and shit. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
Man, what a game!
The scariest part of Dead Space was the part where you have to destroy the meteor.
Dude,
was that the first game?
Yeah, the first game.
Yeah, I like the parts where you had to fly around in 0G, and you had to like open the boxes and shit, and then you had shit coming at you like when there was no gravity and stuff, and you had to go from one part of the space station, and you had to go out into actual space. And go to another part of the space station to get to the airlock to keep going. I mean, Isaac's a hell of a character too, and I don't know if you guys played all three games. The third game was pretty bad, but
I did the first two.
The second game was really good. The third game tried to do like a co-op thing where it was like you and somebody else. I have all three of them physically on Xbox 360, but yeah, those games are super iconic. Games in their own right. I want to talk about a game that we never really got to play. We got to play it, but it never came out. It's called PT, and PT is a horror game that PT stands for Playable Teaser, and it was released on the PS4. It was a demo, which I still have access to on my PS4, and it was. Basically, just puts you in a house, and you had to interact with stuff and unlock the demo secrets. And it was a game that was going to be made by Guillermo del Toro and Hideo Kojima, which they would end up later doing Death Stranding.
Yep.
And also featured you as the player character, which you didn't find out till you beat the demo, which you ended up finding out you were Norman Reedus. Was pretty cool. Did you guys all get a chance to check out PT? And if you did, what were your thoughts on it? Did you think it was cool? Did you think that are you kind of glad they didn't make a game? Like that kind of makes it even more special to see, or what do you guys think about PT?
Let me start off with this one because I didn't get to play PT. I missed out.
Okay.
So, but I saw plenty of videos. I saw a lot of the gameplay. It was kind of reminiscent a little bit of Silent Hill's The Room. If you guys ever played that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
But
I played that. Yeah.
But it hurt me, dude. This one cut me deep because I'm a big fan of Del Toro. Guillermo del Toro is amazing.
Oh yeah,
amazing director, and his movies are just, blow my mind. They're so great. Pan's Labyrinth, it's just amazing.
Hellboy.
And to have Kojima also be on board, I can just envision these two visionary people creating something amazing with a Silent Hill universe. Dude, I think we were robbed. That would have been
we were robbed.
That just would have been one of the most, mind-bending, Silent Hill games ever. And it didn't happen. For whatever the case, there's plenty of rumors. There's all kinds of, hearsay of what went down. But
yeah,
I feel robbed. And it's such that PT was the only thing we were able to get out of that, mind coalition between the two. And I would have loved to have seen that fleshed out, man. So that cuts me deep.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh? Did you play it?
I did.
What do you think about it? For what it was worth?
I don't know. I wasn't as blown away as everybody else was. because I had already played Silent Hill: The Room,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. I hate the puzzle games where it's like, did I do something? I don't know. Maybe it'll tell me. Maybe it won't. It's like, bro, when I do a puzzle, right, I want it to like make some sort of noise or something, or like something rumbles and slides to the side where I can see it. Don't just be like, all right, you pushed a button, but since like you can't feel it, you don't know if it actually pushed. Did something happen somewhere else? Fuck you. Here's a giant baby that's gonna eat you, you know?
Yeah, The Room was just something different, man. It really was.
Right.
Yeah. I liked PT. I thought it was cool. I liked the graphics, man. It was it was insanely graphically impressive for what it was worth.
That was dope.
Having played The Room was a really good game. I think it was the fourth Silent Hill game was The Room. And that was a really good game just because I liked the whole aspect of the room itself, the starting room and all the doors you had to unlock and the whole that stuff. I need to do like a Silent Hill playthrough. I need to play through all those games again. But what I will say was this game. I don't know how you feel about this, Josh, but I feel like Capcom kind of took from this game a little bit, and that's how they made Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, because it looks a little similar.
I was actually going to say something like that. Yeah, because it is. They completely
so much
changed
like that game. What that game possibly would have been.
They completely dropped their entire gameplay style because 7 and 8 don't play like the entire rest of the series.
I wanted to ask you about that too. It was like, because we went from 6 was a very fucking bad game. I mean, that's just me, but like if somebody out there likes it, fine. But like we went from always the Resident Evil franchise as a whole has progressed, and that's always good for gaming because you want your games to progress and feel different and play different and yet at the same time maintain a same level of horror that we've come to expect. But man, oh man, it's like when the jump from 6 to 7 was just, it was like playing an entirely different franchise almost.
It was
crazy.
I feel like that was needed though. Like that made people care about Resident Evil again, because at that point in time, before the 7th game came out, there were fans of the movie series, and then there was the like 5 or 6 of us that were still like, I really like the games. I'm buying them and playing them, you know, and it was just kind of like a weird time. And then 7 comes out and it ends up being like mind-blowingly good. It is, because when I saw that it was, you know, a hillbilly Texas Chainsaw style family, you know, family that you were dealing with, I literally rolled my eyes and said, no, thanks. Why? Because I'm from Meth County, Indiana. Like my neighbors look like that, dude. Like, you know,
Hey, look close to home.
Right? It's like, this isn't Resident Evil. This is going down the street.
This is my neighborhood.
Yeah, this happened to a kid I know growing up. But no, it's absolutely nuts, because it's one of those things that, like, the way that the beginning of Resident Evil 7 builds is, ooh, something scary's gonna happen. Something scary's gonna happen. Something scary's gonna. You're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, because literally you open the door and I'm like, great. They want me to walk down the scary dark stairway into the basement, and then she comes after you with a fucking chainsaw, and I'm like, no, how do I turn around? How do I run? Oh my god, this opening hasn't prepared me for anything. Dude, Resident Evil 7 brings it. And then 8 goes, oh, I've had some military training. And then all of a sudden now Ethan's a badass, and it I mean, it's still the same, but it's not as clunky as 7 was, and I really like 8. I really like how it plays, which is why I'm still fuxing with it. Like, I'm really excited for the DLC that's coming out.
Yeah, the Rose DLC looks cool.
The Rose DLC, also, they're doing a third-person playthrough.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Which I don't know if I really want or not, because, like...
Yeah, I don't think I want that, because it looks good. I think it looks better.
Like,
those games are meant to be played in first person now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Resident Evil 7 is the reason I bought a PlayStation VR.
Okay.
There you go.
You know, and I'll cap it with that. Like, it was because I wanted to play this game again, but this time in VR. And have you guys all played 7?
I played the first 7, but I played the first portion of that. I got up until the attic, like literally the beginning of the game.
Dude.
Yeah, I never got any further.
Go and finish that game, guys. It's so good.
Yeah, and then you got to. Okay.
What's that, Andrew?
I think 8's the only one I've actually completed.
So you know the big, crazy fucking twist that we're not going to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. How messed up is that? So right at the beginning of 7, there's like a little interlude where you're like a news crew, or no, they're a ghost hunters type thing going inside the house. So right at the beginning of 7, you find their van that's just kind of left out in the middle of the woods over by the house. In the game, you can walk up and you can walk right up to it, and you can just kind of like, oh, hey, there's a van here. With the VR helmet, you can lean forward and look over the seats and stuff. And there's
that's dope. I have the VR helmet. I haven't done that yet.
You need to. You need to play Resident Evil 7 in VR. I mean, wear a pair of diapers, but One
game I'm going to talk about.
Dude. Like, it's pretty creepy. I thought it was great. I just never got a chance to finish it.
Yeah.
But we should definitely move on, though.
So the next thing I want to talk about is a game that I know Victor and I have both played. I don't think that Josh or Andrew have played it. Andrew may have heard of it, because I know Andrew's into a lot of different things like anime and stuff like that. But it is a horror game. It's called Doki Doki Literature Club.
Doki Literature Club. You're right, I haven't played it, but I've had everyone. I've had people just be like, "Hey, what's up, man?
Did you finish it, Brian?
I did, dude. Holy shit!
Didn't I tell you? I told you the beginning is a little slow,
bro.
Once you get past that,
dude, I'm telling you, man. So Victor and I had talked about it, and he's like, "No, man, you gotta play it. It's like super fucked up." So I'm playing. So it's not like you're not really playing a game.
No, it's a visual. It's a
visual novel, but when you get far enough into it, you start to notice some shit. Just gonna leave it at that. Yeah. This is a game.
I already know.
This is a game you don't really talk about unless you're with people that have strictly finished it and have played it all the way through.
How old is this game now? Do we still need a spoiler warning for this game, or can we spill the guts here?
Well, no, I think
the game has been out a while.
Not.
Well, because with these sorts. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say I had the game ruined for me by someone else's YouTube video, and they're like, "And next, let's talk about the ending of Doki Doki Literature Club, which causes you to open up the game." And I'm like, "No."
I feel like
some of those thumbnails are horrible on YouTube, man. They kill the whole thing sometimes. But,
yes.
What's up,
something you definitely want to go in blind to.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it seems like with this particular genre, that this, I guess there's kind of a different rule for spoilers, because while the story, might be fair game, the actual parts that will make you jump or freak you out seem like they should have like their own spoiler policy.
But that game is like, I'm not gonna like talk spoilers here, but like the game is it's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
I'm playing this and I was telling Raven about it, right? And so Raven's like, she's like, that's not a horror game. How is that a horror game? It's like a bunch of cute little anime girls. Like, I'm like, but everywhere I read about it without being spoiled a single part about it was like, dude, and at the end, it's just so fucked up. Like, I can't believe that this happened and this happened. And I'm like, I didn't know what they were. I don't know what they were talking about, but like, I didn't read any spoilers. And I'm just like, okay, wasn't it like an AV club or some shit they were a part of or some shit?
A literature club.
A literature club, yeah, that's right. And I was like, okay, this is weird, and a lot of it makes you feel uncomfortable as you're reading the game. It feels a little uncomfortable, especially the things you have to do. Like, there is a little bit of a gameplay aspect to it, which kind of involves like favoritism of the characters in the game a little bit.
Okay.
There's a
some
system.
of those choices do affect how it plays out. But
there are choices. It is a choice-based game, so you do have to actually make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it does impact the story and the girls that you interact with and how you interact with them.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna give anything away. But man,
Mhm.
when you get to that part, that's what everybody would say is when you get to the freaky shit, dude, that's when it like the top of the game blows off and it like it's fucked up. So if you're watching this game or if you're watching this, go play it.
Mhm.
Like if you just need something where you don't really have to think a lot, you don't want to have to worry about killing things or you can literally you can go pick it up on the Switch. We played it on the PlayStation, but go get it on the Switch. That way you can go take a shit and do it too. Because it's literally just reading. It's literally just reading.
I mean, on their computers.
There isn't a full. Yeah, it's free on Steam. So like, you really don't have to really like. It's not like a puzzle game or anything like that. It's really just sitting reading. But I promise you, when you get there, it's freaky shit.
Okay.
That's some freaky shit. Next thing I want to talk about.
Hold on real quick. I've got some breaking news pertaining to the topic that we're talking about today.
Oh, okay.
Literally right now, I just got the email notification. Evil Dead, the game, is adding the blacksmith as a playable character sometime before the end of the month. Just announced like 5 minutes ago.
All right.
Nice.
Very nice.
So, the guy that makes the hand for Ash and stuff in the movie. I don't know. Have you guys played Evil Dead, the game, or seen it? Have you watched me play it? I know you have it, Brian. There's different classes.
I've seen it. I haven't played it.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. It's good. I love it as a fan.
It is really good.
Talking about horror games, but anyway, go ahead, Brian. Sorry, I just wanted to share that while I could because it literally just got announced while we were doing this.
Okay.
So there is another game I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I haven't played it all the way through. But it's called Eternal Darkness: Sanity's Requiem. On the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
I know if Raven was here with us, she would talk about that. But it is one of the most freakiest games. It's like in the top 10 of like a lot of people's horror genre. But basically, you play as this girl, and you go through different time jumps, and you play as different characters. And sometimes like the controls will change on you at random, and the game will like actually fuck with your controls.
Oh, okay.
To mess with you. If you remember the section in Metal Gear Solid, the first game with Psycho Mantis, and he like told you to reset the game and shit, he'll do that kind of shit to you in here. That's what I recommend.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Like playing Castlevania.
I think it also had I might be misremembering, but I think it also had like a patented sanity system, which is why it's not really used in any other game since then, because the company who made the game basically have the patent for that. So
they have the patent for it. Yeah, it's called the sanity system. So like the worse your sanity gets in the game, like it makes gameplay changes happen to you. So it was released on the GameCube exclusively. It's a very expensive game to buy.
I think I've actually got it on this shelf.
You actually have it? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Oh, dude.
I'm trying to picture the cover. Is it black with purple on it?
Yeah, it's like black, and it's got purple on it.
1 second.
I think I
he's gonna find it. Yeah, Andrew's like, I'm gonna grab it.
The European cover, at least.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, this is great. This is excellent.
Let's go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, that's what it looks like here in America too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, my wife Raven would be so jealous of you, dude. She was that game
so awesome. Video games is
but it's a great game. I've not finished it. I've not finished it all the way.
Neither have I. But I picked it up. Weird aside. I bought a GameCube for cheap in France, and I somehow got this somewhere along the way. But hey,
that's awesome.
You talk about the sanity system. Did any of you guys play The Thing, the game? And it came out 2002, and it's based on John Carpenter's The Thing.
PlayStation 2 game, I think, right?
Yeah.
I sort of remember playing that, yeah.
So there are two different systems that they used, and I just had to check to make sure it wasn't the same thing. There's a infection system, and then what's fear system. And the NPCs, they will literally, the more scared they get, the more irrational they'll be.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so there's things that will happen, like, say dude joins your crew, he's from a different unit, and it's like, oh, okay, you're Bravo unit, well, let's join up because I'm from Charlie unit and they're all gone, man. Every single one of us is dead. So like, yeah. So then all of a sudden your guys start distrusting him because he's a lone guy.
That's kind of like the movie though.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, you got a machine gun. I think I want to hold that machine gun and let you take this pistol instead. Yeah. Well, now he thinks that you're going to shoot him, so he starts acting irrational.
So they don't trust you. He doesn't trust you.
Straight up and turn on you, yeah. And then, there's the whole time in the background, the virus is literally passing itself around. So it's every gameplay is different. It's not, I mean, there's a couple instances where like set NPCs are the monster, but you can, have someone who's like not, and just all of a sudden randomly at the end of the game, they're just like, oh, hey, I'm gonna eat you. It's a really fun game, man. Myself and a buddy of mine played the crap out of it when it came out. Like it's really good. And honestly, I don't know if I still have a copy, but I have to play it again soon now that I'm just even thinking about it, how good it was.
Dude, speaking of games that we played the crap out of, dude, anybody else played the crap out of The Binding of Isaac? I mean, that's another horror game that we didn't even talk about here.
I know a guy who's played that. Yeah.
Yeah, right? There was a crack through the door. Isaac sees his mother. I love that game,
dude. No exaggeration. I think because it's been out for a long time. Long time.
It has.
It's been a long time.
Because this could be a whole episode for me. But yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan, Drew. Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, Vanilla Isaac, I think, was like 2011, 2012. I remember I was playing it when I was in college. And basically, it went up to the womb, which is like... And then there were expansion packs. And now, fast forward to now, I've probably put in easily over 1,000 hours into the game.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I do the unboxings on the channel.
Yeah, the unboxings.
Yeah. I've also got... I've got it for too many consoles. I've got it for PC. I've got it for PS4, PS5. I've got it for Switch.
So it's like Skyrim. You have it for like everything.
Yeah. I think there was even an iPad and like an iPod Touch version back in the day. But the thing is,
but speaking of the game though, it's an amazing horror game in its own right, dude.
Yeah.
Every room changes up on every gameplay, so you never get the same exact experience. So it's pretty cool, dude.
I still suck at the game.
I did too. I went back and played it recently, and I'm just like so fucking bad. I don't think I've even beat it like one time. I don't think I've even completed the whole playthrough.
I got through a handful of bosses. I never finished the game though, but I got through a handful of bosses.
But for me, it's sort of I got to. So I thought, okay, I've beat Mom's Heart, great, and then it was sort of a case of so. Finally, I started getting into rhythm. Then they released an expansion where there's new floors, new bosses, extra floors. So now it's like, now you've got to beat the cathedral, or now you've got to beat Satan. And then now there's the dark room, and now there's the chest, and now there's delirium, and now there's Hush, and now there's a completely different alt path, and now there's the beast and dogma and everything. And it's just, and then they add more characters.
To be clear,
yeah.
To be clear, Drew, it's an expansion of the original game. These are not separate games, right?
No, yeah, correct. It's all.
Yeah, it's like they're adding stuff to it.
Yeah. But then you think you're all done, and then they go, okay, now you've beaten the game. Now here's more characters. Oh, and there's tainted versions of all of the characters, which you've also got to get all of the check marks on. There's a lot to do, and I mean, it should be testament that I put in so much time in because, like you said, Victor, it's a roguelike game. So and it's so each run is different. There's hundreds of items, hundreds of bosses, enemies. So it all switches up. So if you haven't played, so like you were saying earlier with Doki Doki, as a recommendation, I would definitely recommend The Binding of Isaac.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think for me,
but with a caveat, it's a big, depending on it's addictive, so it can be a big.
Yeah. For me, like The Binding of Isaac was the first roguelike game I ever played. And I remember like when I started playing it and I died and I was like, what the hell? Like what and like you start over and I'm like, oh, okay, so like you were unlocking like stuff for the next playthrough.
Yeah.
And things like that. And then there's so many other roguelike games that have came out like after. I know like the most recent one to me, have you played Cult of the Lamb?
I'm very interested in, but I haven't played it.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
You would love that. That's right up your alley.
Yeah.
It's super, super good. What's really special about The Binding of Isaac when it relates to Andrew and I is our very first podcast we ever did was called the Game Facts Podcast or Game FAQs. I know Andrew's gonna be like, no, but it's that. But anyway, he's always got to correct me. But we actually had the pleasure of having the creator of that game on our show,
Edmund
McMillan, and we also had Tommy Refernez on there as well. They were on for Super Meat Boy at the time because they also helped make that game as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they did a movie called Indie Game the Movie, which was really good, and we had them on our show, which was pretty fun to talk to both of them as well. So we have a little history of that in a podcast ourselves, which was really cool to get to speak with them. And that was even when like Binding of Isaac was still like in its infant stages.
Yeah. It was when it was
many years ago.
It's what I would call vanilla Isaac. It was just
Binding
of Isaac.
It was like 1.0.
I got that earlier. I was like, all right.
Yeah, but let's see. What's Eric saying in here? He said, what's he saying? Evil farts tonight.
Evil farts tonight. Man, let me tell you.
Let's see. He said also
evil farts every night, dude.
Oregon Trail will always be a boss game. Oregon Trail is not a horror game, sir.
Eric.
Oh, you know what's another PC game just to touch base on because I know we're running short on time. Corpse Party. That's another one on PC, dude. That's another big horror game. Dude.
So
what's it called?
You guys are not familiar with Corpse Party?
Oh, Corpse Party. I thought you said
Corpse Party. I've heard of that, but I've not seen it.
That's another really gory. That's another gory RPG-esque type game, and we're talking about the first one because there's been subsequent games after that. But Corpse Party is another one that has some pretty weird and very grotesque stuff going on in it.
So we know
check that out. That's up your alley.
We'll do a little speed run here of a couple things, and we know Capcom was pretty popular for making lots of horror games.
Yes,
back in the day. They did a couple games though. They did one game in particular that I really wish they would bring this franchise back. You might have heard of it. It's called Dino Crisis, and it was
Dino Crisis.
It was basically like a spoof version of Resident Evil with dinosaurs.
It was, man.
I liked it though. I liked it. I enjoyed those games. They made 3 of them, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't my bag, but I totally get why you like it.
I like those games. Those games were good. Then you also had another popular game series that Capcom came out with called Dead Rising. I know you guys probably played that. Right?
I've been trying to shoehorn that in this whole fucking episode.
I got you. Yeah.
Dead Rising 2 off the record is possibly, if I had to choose between like most horror games in that, I would pick that. I am 2 trophies away from the platinum, and I cannot get them because they're co-op.
Oh, what? Have you done the 7-day adventure trophy in the first game?
Okay.
Oh, that's hard as shit,
dude. I'm missing the like 2 silver trophies co-op and then get 10 gold trophies co-op. Trophies being the in-game, missions that you got to do for the co-op, and the co-op character has its own separate leveling up as opposed to the regular free play character. So I haven't met a single person who's got a maxed out online character, so we can do that and I can get that stupid trophy. And it's like I'm just waiting all the time. Like my buddy George, he lives in Scotland. I'm not gonna make fun of his accent, but he's always like, "I got you, man." And because of his work schedule and my work schedule, we haven't gamed in like over a year together. Because of the time zone differences. But it's just like I'm at this point, I think I'm never going to get that platinum, and it sucks because I've literally done every other thing to do in that game.
Yeah, online trophies are the worst anyway.
We might have to do an episode next week about achievements.
I'll save my comment then because I know the one single angriest achievement I've ever not gotten in my entire life.
Yeah, save it. We'll talk about that.
I'll touch base on one achievement that really grinded my gears. BioShock, the original one, passed the whole game without dying.
That's a great horror game, by the way. That's a great horror game, by the way.
I completed it. It is awesome, amazing.
Resident Evil 7.
I was mad.
Resident Evil 7 complete the game.
Supposed to turn off the setting, dude.
Dude, it's Resident Evil 7 has complete the game in less than 14,000 steps. Fuck them for doing that.
What?
Yes.
That's a thing? How are you
literally and actually fuck Capcom?
You have a counter?
I went and got one of those things from Office Depot.
No, you did.
The person counters and every
a little clicker.
Yeah, I got a little clicker, dude, and it had me second guessing the whole time.
Oh my God.
I overstressed that trophy so much.
Did you get it though?
Yeah,
that's an episode. That's a discussion for next week.
Yeah, let's do. We can talk about achievements in video games.
We'll just to kind of shift it back to this episode. We need to talk about Dead Island real quick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dead Island 2 is coming out.
Yeah, one day.
I can't tell if you like or hate Dead Island from that response.
I know, yeah, that was a very like.
Well, this is I got it. I've got it. I played a bit, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I played. But the thing is that the trailer was really good. The trailer with the family and everything, and it was all in reverse with the really sad music over it.
Yeah.
Side note, probably one of my favorite pieces of video game music was
that was a great, yeah.
But so everyone was thinking it was going to be like this, really emotional, kind of deep zombie game, and it was basically just a jokey.
How do you not like "Who Do You Voodoo Bitch"? That's like the most classic line. Who do you voodoo? That was the opening scene in the first game is so ridiculous.
But yeah, the sequel seems like the Avatar 2 of the sequels. Like, it's going to come out eventually. We've waited a decade. It might come out. I know it's coming out, but
did you guys play the other Dead Island game? The one that came out after the first one? It's like a
Riptide, yeah.
I've got it on
Riptide.
I've got it on Xbox One, but I've not.
Riptide, yeah.
I'm actually currently in a playthrough with a buddy of mine.
While we're talking about Dead Island, we can't talk about Dead Island without talking about Dying Light too. We'll finish that up.
Dying Light. I feel like Dying Light. I don't know. I feel like it took a really fun, simple game and made it too complex.
I kind of get what you mean. I played both the first and the second one. The second one, while it had good mechanics, it just kind of felt like a chore at points because
yes.
I know I haven't finished the second one because it felt so boring.
Well, there's the day. Well, basically in the second one, I can't remember if it's in the first one. I know there is like a day-night cycle in the first one, but there's a day-night cycle in the second one. And when it's nighttime, not only are there more zombies around, but you yourself have got like a timer. You can only spend so much time out in the dark.
Yeah.
So basically, you've then got to manage your supplies and everything, but also, oh crap, I've got to get to a UV light.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Timer. So it's basically it's
they made it survival horror. They put too much emphasis on the survival.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
But there were still good aspects to it. That's the thing.
Right.
Well, guys. Oh yeah, go for it, Josh.
Let me tell one quick Dead Island story because I was going to say that it's so simplistic and funny that sometimes you forget that it's such a survival game. So this game first comes out. My brother got to do a full playthrough with everything. He was Sam B. He got the Gabriel sledgehammer, put the Tesla mod on it. It's literally like stat for stat the best weapon in the entire game, and you only get one chance at it.
Oh, nice.
He's in the post game, his save character and everything, and you can use this post-game character for, online playthroughs, everybody. He hands me the controller and goes, check out this fun game. I think you'll like it. As I'm trying out the controls, I take his one-of-a-kind sledgehammer from this game that you only get once to play through, and I throw it into the motherfucking ocean, and it's gone forever because this game auto-saves every few seconds. Dude, like I still, anything that he ever did bad to me when we were kids, that deficit immediately changed, and I was the one that was the bad brother at that point forever on, and I still always feel bad. Like that's a heavy mark on my soul. You threw away Matt's Tesla sledgehammer.
Oh man,
that's a core memory. That's a core memory. That'll be there forever.
Forever.
Well, guys, thank you all for watching this episode of Friendly Fire, episode 3. Speaking of horror games, I will be on Twitch tonight. I'll be back. Yes, I haven't been on there in a long time. I'm going to be streaming a horror game tonight. I'm going to be playing a brand new game called Scorn that just came out today. It is available on Game Pass on PC and Xbox. If you have that, you guys can play. If you want to play along with me while you're watching me stream too, you can. Nice. And I'm going to be playing that tonight, and I am doing a full playthrough of that. So I'm probably going to be streaming for quite a while tonight. That's going to start at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And so don't miss out on that. It's at twitch.tv/the domain GPCE. You guys can go and watch that. You can hang out. And I'm looking forward to it because it says they talked about this game for several years, and it was like a Kickstarter game, and it looks really fucking weird. So I'm looking forward to it. But thanks to Andrew, Victor, and Josh for joining me here on another episode of Friendly Fire. We will see you guys next week. We're trying to figure out a day of the week, but we will be here.
We'll get this figured out. And hey, the good thing about not knowing is you can watch the video afterwards too.
Yeah, because you can still catch us later because we keep all of our episodes of Friendly Fire up here on the YouTube channel. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, see you guys.
Bye. Later.